let's go through our entree this week, which is just touching on a couple of the warm-up games that we had over the weekends. If you're watching on YouTube, we do have the images, slides, everything on there. So I encourage you to get on there. And we also like to chop it up so you can kind of get in there and look at each team as you have time as well. If the podcast format's not for you, but Nels will throw to you.
The Aussies have started, and the Kiwis they join in next week. And we had the Waratahs versus the Brumbies. Where was this one down? This down out in the country somewhere, wasn't it? We'll just say they basically did two different teams, both halves, and mixed it up a little bit. But the Brumbies were too strong and held out the Waratahs, who pushed late, scored a try late, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was a few things to note. Corey Toole coming across from the sevens. He lit it up. The Brumbies, the driving maul is as strong as ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
They scored another brilliant driving maul try, but there was a lot to like for both teams. But obviously, Wallabies and stuff will trickle back in, and I think fill in next week. But yeah, the Brumbies got it done in this one.
Yeah, and I think the big takeaway is that trial form isn't going to tell you too much. You know, the sides are going to be very close. I don't think you can get too deep into who actually took the game or where the pros and cons were on each side. The Waratahs ran out at quite a strong side. I think both teams ran quite a strong side in the first half, and then the Tars subbed their entire team in the second half, whereas the Brums just made some select changes as the half went on. So kind of different strategies about how they're trying to build into their season.
The coaches were talking as well. Like, this is a time to give people a few runs. Next week, we'll probably get to see some more combinations. We saw Ben Donaldson at 10, then we saw Tane Edmund at 10 after starting at 12, and Donna shifted to 15. So there's a lot to take if you watched it. But it's hard to know what's going to be valuable moving forward.
Yeah. And the other game, to touch on that one as well, the Western Force hosted the Reds. I read the game summary, couldn't get the video footage for this one. On that note, before we get to that, how about Bar TV? It was $6 to watch the trial.
Yeah, they've done that in the last couple of years.
I didn't realise they were charging for it.
Oh, it's a tricky one. They definitely supply a lot of rugby, and it's not always easy to get, good setups there. So it's a bit of a tricky one. You'd prefer Rugby Australia or someone else to throw the money into it, or
Stan going to charge us $10 a month for all of rugby, whereas we're paying $6 for a single game with lower coverage.
Yeah, you're talking about a massive company, and then
I just think Stan should be putting it on then. They should quite clearly. Yeah. Anyway, we'll leave that there. The Force, I read their review of it, and it was great seeing the wording from a team that lost 10-45. You really thought that it was a tight game all the way through. The Reds did score a couple of very late tries to their young winger, which might have blown the score up further than it might have otherwise been. But really, the takeaway from this one was that the Force are going to struggle. They haven't got their combinations, and the Reds are looking pretty dominant when they have their top team on the park.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. I think we saw Isaac Rodder return for the Force as well. So, it's not like they're missing too many players. The Reds, Harry Wilson, really shone throughout this one. Ball in hand, doing his own running and distributing, setting up tries around him. But there are a number of young players who stepped up as well. We've got to see Tom Liner. We've got to see who else was the young winger.
Harry McLaughlin-Phillips, I think it was. That scored the double leg.
I say young winger, but apparently he's a fly half who was playing wing to give him some game time, by the sounds of it.
Oh, really? I hadn't heard that, to be honest.
Yeah, apparently. So, interesting. Again, lots of young talent to see, but there's not too much to read into the form of these sides moving forward.
Yeah, for sure.